After 9 months, the sister delivers the child, hands over secretly to Dunduli, and the Atmadeva is happy, and Dunduli and Atmadeva, they do the Namakarana, naming ceremony, they call the child Dundukari. Simultaneously, another magical and mystical thing has happened in the cow shed. What is that? The cow that has eaten the prasada, the Mahapala that has thrown by this lady, exactly after 10 months has given to delivery for a human boy. But only difference is the ears are the ears of the cow. That is why Atmadeva, the father, named it as Gokarna. Gokarna. Then what happened? Dundukare was raised by Atmadeva and Dunduli, but he did not care for Atmadeva. He was an asamskari, he was a kusamskari, the worst fellow. Even when he was a child, he was so vulgar. He did not bother about the parents. Then he became the rogue of the entire area. Atmadeva used all Samadana, Veda, Danda, everything failed. And when this fellow became 18-year fellow, then he became incorrigible and irreparable fellow. Ultimately, Atmadeva got dejected and frustrated. One night, without informing anybody, he went to the forest. In forest, just by making the Bhagavata Pravachana, when he was reading the 10th chapter, Padma Purana makes it absolutely clear. He was so much frustrated with the Laukika, goes to the forest, concentrates on Bhagavata, starts reading the Bhagavata, contemplating on Bhagavata. When he was reading the 10th chapter of Bhagavata, Dashamaskanda, he was reading and reading and reading and reading. In between the lines, he was seeing the Krishna, and at the end, he had the Krishna Sakshatkara, Krishna Darshana, and he dies there. Atmadeva dies there. Then here, when the father goes out in this fellow, he becomes the monarch of the whole family, and they told, Mother, you give everything, all the property you give. She was afraid. Then she committed suicide, notwithstanding against the terrible onslaught of the son. She committed suicide. Then he became scot-free, no asker, no teller. Then he wanted to have all the worst and the vulgar and obscene things in the house. He brought many street ladies into his house, and he wanted to enjoy. Then he was giving every day daily wages as the compensation for them. They observed very keenly and closely. He has so much of money, so much of assets, so much of property. Why the hell we have to work on daily wages? We want everything now and here. He refused to give. They killed him on the spot. All the street ladies, they killed him on the spot, and they looted whatever he had, and they ran away. And this fellow became Preta, this fellow became a Bhuta, he became a ghost. Dundukari became a Preta. And in the Preta Janama, he had so much of terrific pain. He could not bear that unbearable pain. He was crying, he was weeping, he was shouting. The pricking pain he could not bear. He shouted, he wanted his brother Gokarna. But Gokarna has gone to Himalayas while coming. When he came to Matrugaya, somebody told your brother is dead. Because then he performed a Shraddha there, and he came. When he comes, one night, his brother in the Preta Rupa appears to him, begs him, please rescue me and release me from this Preta Janma. Every second, it's a hell, I can't bear it, please release me. Then he said, Gokarna said, already I have performed a Shraddha to you in the Gaya, you will be released, don't worry. Then he said, that Preta Janma said, even if you perform 1,000 Shraddhas in Gaya, my Preta Janma cannot be released, because the amount of Papa Karma that I have done, is not, it's ordinary. Even if you perform 1,000 Shraddhas, nothing happens. You have to take extraordinary measures now to release me from this Preta Janma. Then Gokarna, because he was a Mahatapasvi, Gokarna was a Mahatapasvi from the mystical birth that he had, and from the Tirtha Kshetra Yatra Phala that he had the extraordinary power of Tapasya. So he made Surya Bhagavan to stop for a second and asked Surya Bhagavan, my brother is suffering from the intense pain, tremendous pain in the form of the Preta Janma, because the Papa Karmas that he has done so much. So what I can do to rescue him? Then Surya Bhagavan tells to Gokarna, only one way through which all the sins of the past can be cured, and in the future you will be having extraordinary celestial happiness. tremendous divine sadhana in future if you have to overcome all the sins in the past, and you have to accumulate and accrue the greatest sadhana days in the future. Only one course that's available is let that Preta Janma listen to Bhagavata. Then Gokarna organized on the bank of Tungabhadra river this Bhagavata Saptaha, and 7 days the Preta in the form of the air, it entered the bamboo grove just in the place where Gokarna was delivering. Large number of people congregated on the bank of the river. Gokarna was delivering Bhagavata Saptaha for 7 days, and that Preta came in the form of the invisible air, and it was there in the bamboo grove. Every day at the end of the Bhagavata Saptaha, one particular portion of the bamboo tree was completely, people were listening to the type of the sound it was going out. 7th day, the bamboo tree in which the Prita was there, it became invisible. And when the Mangalam took place, there was a sound, celestial sound from the skies. Devaratha descended, and the Ratha was landed there. Devadutas came out of that, and from near that particular bamboo tree where this Preta was actually listening to Bhagavata Saptaha, all of them they came, and they just sprinkled some holy water. Immediately they could see a prince there. That is, this Preta Janma has gone. He has become a Deva Manava there. With all ceremonious reception, he was taken in Devaratha to Devaloka. Immediately Gokarna comes running and stops them, asks them, I am a tapasvi, I am a sattvika. In fact, I have told the Bhagavata, he has just listened to Bhagavata, and you have brought Devaratha. You are taking him, making great Deva Manava. What about us? He has done such a terrible crimes. You are good people. Then Devadatas clarify. They say, you know Bhagavata, that is number 1. You tell Bhagavata, that is number 2. All these people listen to Bhagavata, number 3. And we agree for all these 3 things. But that Preta, that Dundukari, how will he listen to Bhagavata? Every second of it, and every nerve of it, and every bit of it, and every part of it, it was full of Bhagavata. It was full of Bhagavata. And that made all the difference. How Bhagavata actually came? First, Bhagavata was actually told by Lord Sakshat, Lord Mahavishnu. First, Bhagavata was told by Mahavishnu to his son Chaturmukha Brahma in the form of the 4 shlokas called Chatushloki Bhagavata. Then Brahma, who is the mentor of many rishis, actually gave this Bhagavata to Narada. Narada gave the Bhagavata. Narada appealed to Vedavyasa, requested Vedavyasa to write the Bhagavata. Vedavyasa, after writing it, gives to Shuka Mahamuni. Shuka Mahamuni gives it to Parikshita Raja. When Parikshita was being told, only Parikshita was not there. Bhrigu was there, Shaunaka was there, then Suta Puranika was there, Gautama was there, Pippalada was there, Vedavyasa was there, Purusharama was there, Bharadwaja was there, Angirsa was there, so many rishis were there, Suta Puranika was there, then Suta Puranika came to Naimisharanya in Uttar Pradesh. There Shaunaka and other rishis fell at the feet of Suta Puranika and requested him, which is one particular scripture which can actually make ordinary people of Kali Yuga extraordinary divine personalities. This transformational potential spirituality, in which particular grantha that is there, please narrate it. This dynamic transformational potential scripture of Kali Yuga undoubtedly is only one scripture, that is Srimad Bhagavata. So Suta Puranika told Srimad Bhagavata to Shaunakadis in Naimisharanya. From Shaunakadis up to this day it has been flowing continuously. There is also another Agatikrama. Sakshat Vishnu told to Brahma in the form of Chatushloki Bhagavata. But Vishnu was actually reclining and sleeping on a serpent called as Adishesha. Adishesha also listened to that Bhagavata. Then Adishesha told this to Sanaka, Sanatana, Sanatana, Sanatkumara. The Sanakadis, they told it to Sankhayana Muni. Sankhayana told it to Parashara. Parashara told it to Maitreya. Maitreya told it to Vidura. And from that it has come. While Vedavyasa gave this to Shukamahani. Shuka is the son of Vedavyasa. Is it because the sunstroke that he has given? All the film stars, whatever position, popularity, name, fame and acting talent they have, they want to pass it on to their son, their children. All the political leaders, they want to pass it on to their children. Is it the same thing with the Vedavyasa? Is it the affection, love and affection towards the son that has made him to give it? It is not that. Whenever you have to give something extraordinary and divine thing, it should be given to Yogyas, Suyogyas. Who is Yogya? When Ramayana was written by Valmiki, he wanted to present it to the people. He could have booked one Kalakshetra Memorial Hall or a big auditorium, presented it. Never presented it. Then he thought that it has to be given to the right people. When a great thing has to be done, it should be given. Who is the right people? After Ramayana was written, Valmiki selected none other than the children of Ramachandra, Lava and Kusha. And he taught the entire Ramayana to Lava and Kusha. And now Lava and Kusha learned the singing of the whole Ramayana effortlessly, even without referring to one single page. Then they have to present it to the public now. When Lava Kusha, they have to present Ramayana to the public. Who should be the first listener to whom it has to be presented? Then Valmiki thought it cannot be any other person other than Ramachandra. But Ramachandra is the emperor of the whole universe. Valmiki is after all a small rishi in a small hermitage, and Ramachandra doesn't know Lava and Kusha are his children. Lava and Kusha doesn't know that Ramachandra is father. Then there's a gap, and how to? Anyhow, Valmiki was a master of market intelligence and he found out where Ramachandra is. Ramachandra was performing his last Ashwamedha Yaga on the bank of the Kampaka river. Then he sent his people to find out who are all there on that bank. Because it was the last and the grand finale of Ashwamedha that was being performed by Ramachandra. Ramachandra has invited all his friends, kith and kin, well-wishers, his relatives and all the kings of the world, all the rishis and all the Brahma rishis and all the Deva rishis and all the Rajarshis, and the entire general public and all the office bearers of all the associations and institutions. Thousands and thousands and thousands of tents are being created there. Then Valmiki takes his disciples along with the Lava and Kusha, comes to that particular place. He sees that it is not possible to meet Ramachandra. Such a huge paraphernalia, massive royal arrangement. But Valmiki is a tremendous intelligent. Valmiki calls Lava and Kusha. He tells them, don't bother. There may be lakhs of people, but still, if you have mind, you can do wonders. If your mind will mind you and you can get the things done. I will tell you one thing. What is that? After the Purnahuti lunch takes place, after the lunch, all the Rutviks and Yagniks and Vediks who are actually in charge of performing the Yagna, they will come back to take rest to their tents. Like that, very close friends and very close relatives of Ramachandra, after the lunch and after Purnahuti, they will also come back to relax. You find out which are the tents in which these VVIP people are living. And after the lunch, go there near the window, stand and sing the Ramayana beautifully for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 25 minutes, come back. Do it for 4-5 days. Exactly, Lava and Kusha did that. All the Yagniks and Vediks and Rutviks, they came out to listen to that. They forgot wherever they are there. The king, the close kin and relatives of Ramachandra, they listened to that and they ran to Ramachandra. Rama, you must listen to that. That is your story. That is your family story. That is your life story. You must listen to that. Glorious children, extraordinary spiritual ecstasy. You must listen to that. The pressure and the influence of these people ultimately made Ramachandra, okay, next Saturday evening, entire evening will be given to those boys. All of you are telling so much about them. They invite all the people. Let everyone enjoy that celestial scripture. I don't know what it is. Let everybody enjoy and make the arrangement. So on that particular Saturday evening, all of them assembled there. Then all the ministers have come, and commanders have come, and leaders have come, and security people have come, Vasishtha has come, and Vamadeva has come, and people have come, and general public have come, even the Gramina people, the rural people have come, tribal people have come, everybody, the whole auditorium, mega auditorium was full of it. Finally, Ramachandra comes with a royal paraphernalia procession, and Ramachandra was made to get onto the stage. On the center stage, there was a fantastic Simhasana, and he climbs the Simhasana. Everybody gets up and prostrates, and he makes them to sit. Everybody sits. Everything settled down. Finally, arrives two beautiful children. Lava and Kusha arrives, and they enter to the stage, and they fall at the feet of Ramachandra. He blesses them, and they fall at the feet of Vasishtha. He blesses them, and now they turn towards the audience. They both of them, they turn towards the audience. They are standing in the center stage. Suddenly, all the thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands in the audience, they look at these two. They look at these two. What is this? They look at the face of the Lava and Kusha. They look at the face of Ramachandra. Now they look at the face of Ramachandra. They look at the face of the Lava and Kusha. What is there? Then somebody start talking also. Here is Bimba, here is Pratibimba. Suddenly all of them they could get that it cannot be anything else. Look at that. But now Lava and Kusha starts the Ramayana. They start Ramayana, they started singing Ramayana. Their eyes were glowing when they were singing Ramayana. And their face became absolutely divine face when they were singing Ramayana. And because they were such a small children, total innocence and total devotion blended together harmoniously. Ultimately, when after 1 hour, after 1.5 hours, all the people in the audience just are folding the hands like that to listen to Ramayana. And even in the center, even in the frontal chairs who were sitting, they started slowly getting down. And everybody sat on the floor with the folded hands, listening. And it went to at one particular stage, everybody started crying, and all of them are closing their eyes with the folded hands. Now Ramachandra looks at that. Thousands and thousands are actually in the ocean. They are submerged in the ocean of the bhakti. All of them are with the folded hands. Now Ramachandra thinks, this is Ramayana, this is such a sacred Ramayana, sacred scripture, and if I sit on Simhasana and listen to this, it amounts to arrogance. I should also get down and sit there on the floor, listen to Ramayana. When all of them are closing their eyes, he just gets up and starts climbing down. Suddenly, all the various types of jewels the Ramachandra was wearing started making the sound. Then silently he sits in Simhasana itself, because he thinks if I start getting down, it makes sounds. Security people go open their eyes, they get up, Vasishtha gets up, minister gets up, whole audience gets up. There will be rasa bhasa for the children. So he sits. But next another 10 minutes, there was such a transformation in the whole assembly. All the people who are listening to Ramayana, Lava Kusha were transported to different world altogether. None of them are in this loka. All the faces are completely full of Ananda Bhashpa, and they are in the height of devotion, and completely they are submerged in the ocean of Ramayana Bhakti, and nobody is in this world. And Ramachandra looks, and he could not stand. Silently, just gets down without making even a small sound. Ultimately, gets completely down to the floor, walks, comes almost to the last place where ordinary tribal village people are simply sitting and closing their eyes with folded hands. There he comes, sits on the floor in the midst of them, he builds away there. After 2 hours, the program comes to an end, and they come back, Lava Kusha, they come back and they stop, and when they stop, immediately Vasishtha opens the eyes, security people open the eyes, Vasishtha looks at Simhasana, Ramachandra is not there. Within a second, alert was given. There was a terrific combing operation everywhere, but Ramachandra is not to be seen. Everywhere they make intensive and extensive search, Ramachandra is not to be seen. Ultimately, when Vasishtha and Vamadeva, they run and rush and see very well. Finally, in the end, in the midst of the old tribal village people, simply having the hand onto his head, weeping and crying, Ramachandra was there. Vasishtha goes and, you are the king of the country, you are the emperor of the universe, you cannot sit on the floor, you cannot sit with these people, get up! Ramachandra says, Ramayana is such that it cannot be listened sitting on Simhasana. Ramayana is so sacred and extraordinary. Bhutikaram mamapi. It has sanctified me also. Valmiki thought, first to whom it has to be presented. Vedavyasa, equally great. For whom it has to be presented first. Any number of Rishis, Narada was there, Angirasa was there, Kratu was there, Bhrigu was there, Parashurama was there, Bharadwaja was there. So many greatest persons of those times, they were there in front of him. At home, his own son. Why? Is it sunstroke affection? That is not. When Vedavyasa was very old and very old and very old, almost ancient looking fellow. He was shivering and trembling and he could not open his eyes also, almost fag-end of the avatara, and he was going on the bank of the river at that old age, shivering, trembling, becoming an old, ancient person, going there on that lake, in that river, some women, young women, they were taking a bath. By looking at this person coming, this old man coming, immediately they rushed to the bank of the river and they started wearing the saris. And Shuka Muhammad, this Vedavyasa comes there and he says, daughters, I have got a clarification. What is that? Daughters, now I am such a old fellow, I am a dying fellow, I have become so old, I am an ancient looking fellow, even I can't see what is going on here, and I can't walk also. And when such an old fellow is coming with so much of rush, you just rush into the bank, you started wearing the saree. Just 5 minutes earlier to me, my son Shuka, 18 years sweet 18 Shuka, beautifully looking Shuka, enchantingly, fascinatingly young, youthful Shuka, bubbling enthusiasm, bright Shuka, my son, young dynamo Shuka, he came here. You looked at him, but you never bothered to come out of the river. You never changed the dress. You never thought of anything. I'm old dying fellow. When I come, you felt ashamed and immediately you came and just started wearing the saree. What is this? I can't understand it. All the ladies, in 1 second they answered the Vedavyasa. You are old, you are very old, you are so ancient and you cannot see also. But still, in your mind, in the corner of your mind, there is a bhava, there is a bhavana, there is a feeling. You are male and we are females. Your son Shuka doesn't know that he is a male, doesn't know that we are female. Every second of his life, every nerve of his beating, heart is beating only for the God. Except the namasmarana of the God, he doesn't know anything. That is Shuka Mahamuni. That is why Vedavyasa has handed over Bhagavata to him. The first Bhagavata was actually given on the bank of the Ganga river by Shuka Mahamuni to Parikshit Maharaj 30 years